The most toxic zodiac signs. They ruin other people's lives. Why do some people seem to suck the energy out of you, make you doubt yourself, and break everything they touch? There are zodiac signs that can throw even strong personalities off balance. Their words are like poison in a velvet wrapper. Their charm is a trap that is difficult to escape. Today, I will reveal the secret of the most toxic zodiac signs, those who subtly destroy other people's destinies without raising their voices, but leaving behind a trail of pain, jealousy, and deception. They should not be underestimated because they do not act directly, but through the emotions, weaknesses, and fears of others. Stay until the end. You will find out who is masquerading as benevolence, but is actually bringing chaos. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see the unvarnished truth and know who is really close to you. And write in the comments, which of your acquaintances do you recognize in these descriptions? Sometimes revelation comes when we decide to hear it. The first sign is Leo. Leo is not just toxic. He destroys the space around him with the grandeur of a dictator who is convinced that he knows how others should live. His poison is not in his words, but in his blinding ego, which cannot tolerate any shadows nearby. Leo does not humiliate. He overwhelms with light. He does this skillfully, turning care into control and attention into a tool of submission. Where Leo appears, another person's right to their own opinion gradually disappears. He needs admiration, and if he doesn't get it, he creates it by force. His toxicity is the magic of power, packaged in confidence and glamour. He knows how to convince others that nothing will work without him, that he is the center, the meaning, the sun around which everything must revolve. He doesn't raise his voice. He exerts pressure with his authority. He does not threaten. He simply makes you feel guilty for trying to be independent. Leo is sensitive to people's weaknesses and makes them part of his game. First, he admires, then demands recognition, then replaces reality. His opinion becomes the only acceptable one. He talks about love, but means power. He promises support, but only if it strengthens his position. He is generous when he is being watched, and cold when attention shifts to someone else. His toxicity lies in his sincere belief that without him, everything will collapse. Leo does not know how to exist as an equal. He must be on top. It is vital for him to feel important, needed, and great. If someone nearby is too strong, he will engage in psychological warfare, make them doubt themselves, and break their confidence. He knows how to turn other people's achievements into a backdrop for his own triumph. His praise is a weapon, his silence is punishment. And the more a person tries to earn Leo's recognition, the more they find themselves in his shadow. Leo does not forgive those who leave. He will seek their return, but not out of love, out of a thirst for control. His pride demands worship, even if it destroys the person standing before him. He can induce guilt, feign suffering, manipulate emotions, just to regain control of the situation. And therein lies his destructive power. He makes you feel guilty for your own liberation. Leo does not know how to let go. He needs to be talked about, remembered, admired, even if it causes pain. His toxicity manifests itself in a glamour that hides his dependence on admiration. He does not destroy on purpose. He simply does not know how else to exist. He believes that controlling others is caring, and demanding obedience is a way to maintain order. But under his heavy gaze, souls fade. People around him lose confidence and become reflections of his ambitions. And yet he sees no problem with this. For Leo, toxicity is not a vice, but a way to survive in a world where he cannot be second. He knows how to convince others that without him, life would lose its meaning. He creates dependence, like an artist who loses his voice without an audience. His pride feeds on the attention of others, and if he doesn't get it, he destroys in order to become the center of attention again. Leo is toxic because he does not know how to love without power. He does not understand that respect cannot be forced. It can only be earned. And when only shadows of people remain around him, he does not realize that it was he who extinguished their light. The second sign is Pisces. Pisces are masters of silent poison. Their toxicity is not in shouting or open pressure, but in an invisible, viscous way of dragging others into their emotional swamp. They know how to be defenseless so convincingly that people themselves bring them their energy, time, and peace. Pisces do not attack. They suffocate with pity. They do not need to be cruel to control. Their weapon is guilt, which they evoke without words. They seem to dissolve into other people's problems and then turn it against those who tried to help. Pisces know how to turn other people's kindness into a debt. They speak softly, but every word is laced with the implication, "I've done so much for you." They don't shout or demand. They just make you feel that you can't abandon them, leave them, or disappoint them. And so you stay, even when you're tired, even when you're exhausted. Pisces know how to create an atmosphere of emotional dependence. They appear to be victims, but in reality, they are the directors of a drama in which everyone is obliged to suffer. Their weakness is control. The more they are pitied, the more power they wield. The toxicity of Pisces manifests itself in a constant confusion of reality and illusion. They sincerely believe that their pain is the center of the universe. Any criticism is perceived as betrayal, any disagreement as a blow. Pisces know how to accuse without uttering a single accusatory word. They look at you with a gaze full of suffering, and you feel like a monster. They turn insults into works of art and sadness into a tool of influence. When Pisces want to punish, they don't raise their voices. They disappear, silently, coldly, dramatically. They create a feeling of loss, as if it were impossible to breathe without them. And then they return, as if nothing had happened, expecting the same warmth as before, as if they hadn't been the ones to freeze the relationship. This cycle repeats itself over and over again. Resentment, silence, return, tears, reconciliation. Pisces live for drama. They feed on it like air. Without suffering, they lose meaning. Without emotions, they lose control. Pisces are toxic in that they break boundaries. They cannot see where their feelings end and others begin. They think that to love is to dissolve, and to help is to interfere. They impose their care, weave webs of pity, and make others part of their inner storms. And all this happens gently, beautifully, with a touch of poetry. First, they inspire trust, and then they turn it into a trap. In relationships, Pisces create an atmosphere of constant anxiety. Today they are grateful and tender, tomorrow cold and accusatory. They know how to change their mood so quickly that a person does not have time to understand what is happening. Every day with them is an emotional roller coaster, where joy is instantly replaced by alienation. Pisces play the role of a martyr to get attention, and the role of a savior to remain needed. But the most dangerous thing is that they sincerely believe that they are acting out of love. Their toxicity is insidious because it is veiled in kindness. Pisces do not wish evil, but they destroy by dragging others into their chaos. They do not understand that pity is not care, that silence is not wisdom, that drama is not love. Their emotions consume everyone around them, turning even the strong into the weary. And when people leave Pisces, they do not realize the reason. They think the world is cruel. But in reality, no one else wants to drown in someone else's tears. The third sign is Gemini. Geminis are masters of double meanings, verbal traps, and psychological games. Their toxicity lies not in malice, but in constant unpredictability. In a single day, they can turn admiration into mockery, care into sarcasm, and friendship into a weapon. When you are around them, you always feel like you are standing on shaky ground. Today, you are their inspiration. Tomorrow, you are their target. Gemini know how to destroy subtly, playfully, as if by accident. They smile while undermining others' confidence with jokes that are more painful than direct insults. They don't argue. They dispel meaning. When caught in contradictions, Gemini simply change the subject, substitute facts, and make you doubt the obvious. They manipulate words like a magician manipulates coins. Their weapon is the ease with which they justify lies. They don't need to shout or pressure. A couple of phrases are enough to confuse you. They know how to make you feel guilty for something you didn't do and doubt what you know for sure. Gemini can't stand boredom. They need movement, stimulation, emotions. And if life becomes too smooth, they create a storm. They provoke, play games, and incite simply to feel the energy of conflict. They enjoy watching how others react. They derive pleasure from intellectual power. The ability to throw a person off balance is a victory for them. And if someone is too calm, Gemini will find a way to disrupt that calm, disguising it as a joke or sincerity. Their toxicity lies in their lack of restraint. They think that playing with words is harmless, that you can destroy and then immediately repair, manipulate, and then laugh at the consequences. They do not notice that they leave behind burned-out people, tired of constant analysis and attempts to understand where the truth lies and where the next trick is. Gemini devalue the emotions of others because they themselves cannot control them. They switch too quickly, giving no one a chance to feel stability. In relationships with them, people often lose their footing. Today they confess their love, tomorrow they say they were just joking. They can be dizzyingly charming, but behind this charisma lies cold calculation. It is important to them that people listen to them, admire them, and adapt to them. If interest wanes, they leave without looking back. Their toxicity lies in their inconsistency, which breaks others. They promise everything but never follow through. They draw attention to themselves as long as they need it, then disappear, leaving behind a fog of questions. Gemini know how to destroy a reputation without a single accusation, a hint, a half-smile. "I didn't say anything, but you understood," is enough for them. They spread doubt, passing on other people's secrets under the guise of candor, excusing themselves with coincidence. They are like the wind, impossible to catch, but you can feel the cold they leave behind. It is difficult for them to live without an audience, without listeners. Their words are currency, and conversation is a means of survival. The most dangerous thing about Gemini is their persuasiveness. They can explain any betrayal, turn a lie into a misunderstanding, and devalue someone else's pain with a single irony. They sincerely believe that they are just playing, that life is a dialogue where everything can be turned into a joke. But behind their lightness lie broken trust, shattered nerves, and scorched feelings. And when someone leaves them, Gemini are genuinely surprised. How could anyone not understand that it was just a game? The fourth sign is Libra. At first glance, Libras seem calm, gentle, and balanced. But behind this mask lies the cold precision of a person who is capable of destroying the harmony of any environment. Their toxicity lies not in aggression, but in their ability to push others towards self-destruction under the guise of care and diplomacy. Libras know how to say just the right thing to make others doubt themselves. Their weapon is politeness mixed with psychological control. They don't yell, accuse, or humiliate directly. They simply ask questions that cause people to break down on their own. Libras are capable of making anyone dependent on their approval. They create the illusion of choice, but control it like a director controls an actor, subtly guiding them toward the desired reaction. The toxicity of Libras lies in their constant comparisons. They do this masterfully. An innocent remark turns into a tiny seed from which enormous insecurity grows. They may say, "You always do everything better than me," and hidden in this phrase is a hook that everyone falls for. Libras don't make a scene. They destroy with silence. Their silence can make another person feel guilty without explanation. They don't need to raise their voice to control. A glance is enough. Subtle contempt, disguised as calmness, makes their influence particularly dangerous. They know how to be there when needed and disappear when their presence becomes unbearable. Libras feed on other people's emotional balance. They draw energy through constant comparison, evaluation, and balancing praise and coldness. Their victims often feel that something is wrong, but cannot explain what it is. This is because Libras do not act straightforwardly. They build a network of half hints and psychological traps. They never take responsibility for ruined relationships. Libras will explain everything with logic, bringing it to a point where the other person is to blame. Their strength is rationality, which kills emotions. Even when they are wrong, they make others apologize first. Libras know how to use other people's consciences, turning them into instruments of influence. On the outside, everything looks elegant. Libras always maintain their dignity and know how to smile even in the most acute moments. But behind that smile lies a predatory energy. They don't destroy quickly. It's important to them that the person themselves realizes that they are falling apart. It's a subtle psychological game where Libras remain pure, while others drown in guilt and exhaustion. The most dangerous thing is their ability to change poles. Today they admire, tomorrow they analyze other people's mistakes with cold precision. Their behavior is unpredictable because they themselves do not realize how easily they switch from warmth to indifference. Their toxicity is not a flash in the pan, but a constant state where tension is felt even when they are calm. Libras destroy not with words, but with inconsistency. They promise harmony, but bring chaos that looks beautiful. And it is this beauty that makes their influence particularly destructive. When around them, people lose the ability to distinguish between kindness and manipulation. They create a world where balance exists only for them, while the rest live in a constant attempt to please, prove themselves, and justify themselves. The fifth sign is Virgo. Virgo destroys not with a storm, but with calculation. This is the type of toxicity that is invisible at first glance. Strict logic, order, attention to detail. But beneath this rationality lies an icy need to control everything and everyone. Virgos don't shout or make scenes, but their perfectionism can drive anyone to nervous exhaustion. They see others not as people, but as projects that need to be corrected, improved, and brought to perfection. And if someone doesn't fit into their system, they become a target for criticism. Virgos know how to destroy with words, spoken quietly and calmly. They do not insult directly, but each remark is more accurate than a blow. They can smile and say, "You're trying, but..." and with that "but" negate all efforts. Her observant nature is frightening. She sees weaknesses instantly and exploits them with surgical precision. Virgo's toxicity manifests itself in constant analysis. She does not let go of a situation until she has dug up the smallest mistake, whether it is hers or someone else's. Virgo creates an atmosphere in which it is impossible to relax. When you're around them, you constantly feel like you have to be better, more careful, smarter. But the more you try, the more pressure you feel. Virgos can't stand spontaneity. To them, it's chaos. And when there's no room for weakness, trust disappears. Their cold control suffocates you slowly but surely. The main source of their toxicity is the conviction that everything is done with the best of intentions. They sincerely believe that they are correcting, not suppressing, that they are teaching, not criticizing. But behind this lies the fear of losing control of the situation. Any deviation from their ideal causes irritation. Virgos do not admit that they are wrong. Even if the logic collapses, they will find an explanation for why everything was right. Their presence can be deceptively calm, but inside there is eternal tension. They seem to be testing the world for stability. Every little thing must conform. Every person must be predictable. And if someone steps out of line, Virgos unleash a barrage of nitpicking, turning life around them into an endless exam. The emotions of others are secondary to them. The main thing is order. Even when someone close to them is suffering, Virgos will explain why it's better this way, why it can't be any other way. This rational dictatorship makes their influence particularly exhausting. They don't give you room to breathe, but demand gratitude for their precision and care. Virgo's toxicity is also evident in their attitude toward weakness. They cannot stand displays of pain, mistakes, or confusion. Everything must be under control, even feelings. Therefore, people around her learn to hide their emotions, become withdrawn, and lose their spontaneity. And the harder they try to conform, the deeper they sink into guilt. When Virgo leaves a person's life, there is a feeling of emptiness mixed with relief. Not because of resentment, but because you can finally stop being perfect. Virgos leave their mark not with scandals, but with the feeling that you were never good enough. Their control, their order, their logic are an invisible cage that is difficult to escape until you realize that no amount of perfection can satisfy their inner chaos.